Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality with Michael Cole, the podcast that shines a compassionate light on the journey of veterans battling through life's challenges. Michael is a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist in coaching and keynote training presentations, dedicated to guiding military veterans as they navigate the intricate pathways of post-deployment life. Join him as we delve into the profound realm of neuroencoding science, empowering these brave individuals to conquer universal battles, procrastination, self-doubt, fear, and more. Together, let's uncover the strength within you to re-engage with families and society, forging a new path forward.
Hello, everybody. So I have my buddy Marcus Weiss back on again. Marcus is just this amazing man. Love him to death, and so happy to have you back on. Tell you a little bit about Marcus. He's an accomplished actor, director, and educator with a passion for storytelling and transformation. He's a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist, helping individuals harness joy to create fulfilling lives. Strong personal connection to military service to his family, including Air Force, a retired Navy commander. And, he's dedicated to guiding people toward recognizing their inherent worth and stepping into their full potential, which, how important is that in life, and especially in this world today? Let me just say that. Marcus, my dear friend, tell us just a little bit more about yourself for people that don't know about you yet, haven't seen you on 4 or 5 podcasts, something like that at this point. Tell us a little more about yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for having me back. It's always great to have another invitation to come back, which means that we can do it again. And it means that we were embraced the first time. You know what I mean? And we can pat ourselves on the back for exactly that. So if you're invited back into a room, or if you're invited back into a relationship or a second date, whatever it is, then take credit for that. Take credit for that so you feel good about yourself. And so, and then we can feel good about this relationship. So thank you so much. It's just such an honor to speak with you and those that you serve. And what's also really, really great is hearing the story that other people tell about us. I invite everyone to, if a complimentary word or if a loving word comes your way, really open your ears and, most importantly, your heart to what is being said about you, especially if it's being said with sincerity and authenticity. Trust that that's where it's coming from, and then go, wait a minute. If that's what's being said about me, and if they believe that, and I can believe that they believe that, then that's another little step towards feeling good about yourself. And it's really, really important. And it's not an ego thing. It's just a thing that keeps our light alive, because at some point we have to believe the positive stories that others tell about us, and that we consequently tell about ourselves. And I know this is a little bit of a tangent, perhaps, and it's really important. The introduction that you just gave me, if I really hear that, then I go like, wow, that's really pretty cool. And I got to believe it. So when you say a little bit something about yourself, I'm going to say, thank you. And yes, those things are true. I have to believe it. So I'm a dual elite neuroencoding specialist. I help people, especially to leverage feelings of joy to empower their lives so they want to move forward. The emphasis being on want to move forward so that they're pulled towards a life that excites them and live in their fullest, most powerful self. And I take a lot of tools from the stagecraft. I have a master's degree in acting, arguably too many degrees for an actor. And it means that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing up on that stage to elicit to first and foremost create a story in my head that then elicits feelings, that then creates actions on that stage, that, this is very important, that influences the audience, to make up some kind of meaning, to feel something, to do something, which often is clapping. Sometimes it's getting enraged. Sometimes it's like getting up and, signing up for a theater subscription, whatever it is.
Crying.
What's that?
Crying sometimes.
Crying, whatever it is.
And then laughing 2 minutes later.
Or laughing a few minutes later.
Yeah, fantastic. Marcus, it's something, you bring that up, and I think it's such an important thing for people to really take in. This is something I've been working on a lot, because it's very easy to have somebody say something nice about you and not absorb it in and just move it back towards the other person instead of really absorbing that love and that compliment or whatever the case may be. It's so easy to say, yeah, that's great. And hey, and how are you doing? And just deflecting and changing it instead of really absorbing that in. Because man, if you don't stoke the fire, if you don't light your light, stoke your light, I should say,
Mhm.
it's gonna go out.
Right. If you don't stoke your light.
Yeah,
And so where is that line between, stoking your own light and allowing other people to help stoke it? To help stoke it, especially if you're in a place where you feel stuck, where you're
yeah,
trying to, like our audience, you're trying to reintegrate into something, into a new environment that you might be doubting, that you don't feel safe in necessarily. And
yeah.
how do you allow that in? And it's a little bit of a, where exactly does it start? Because if it's a self-worth issue, if we're talking about perhaps a lack of self-worth, or disguised in humility, because sometimes you say, oh, I'm just being humble, and underneath it could be this sense of lack of self-love, of really not even liking yourself, and it goes
True.
all sorts of reasons, but somewhere to have to start. So we have to stoke it ourselves and allow other people to stoke it. And it can
Absolutely.
start small. But very importantly, how can I help step in and help people rewrite those scripts, and act as if life is a stage for them? How can I step out, and how can I get out of bed and sort of rewrite and become a different character,
Mm.
and make different choices in life?
Yeah,
Um,
it's amazing how we have so many masks that we wear,
yeah,
and removing them, and of course, we're integrity is important, I believe, 100%. And so I try to be integrous across the board. But I think everybody has different masks to some extent that they wear around different people, right? And we're
yes,
totally going to go on a totally different subject right now.
it's not well. When isn't well? Today's subject is when is enough enough? And
Yes.
when we talked about this, there's different ways to interpret that. When is enough enough? And the way that I envisioned that question is, when can I step into my authentic self?
Mm,
When is that self that I feel, and that comfort that I feel in life, when is that a, what a way that I want to live?
yeah.
Like, when can I say, you know what? This feels good to me. I'm not hurting anybody. I'm coming from a place of perhaps love, of whatever that looks like to me. My intentions are good, and that is enough. And when can I choose to be able to look out into the world that is very tempting, to go in this direction, to go in that direction, to buy this, to believe that, and I'm able to say, like, you know what? That I'm gonna let in, and I'm gonna let that affect me, but that, nope, not
Yeah.
gonna do it. And
I
that
love it.
takes and that combination of openness and saying yes, and that filter of saying, like, no, thank you, that's gonna rock my boat in a way that's not gonna serve me, and it's gonna make me
Mm,
feel like this, and therefore it's not gonna help my community and my family and those I love, then no, thank you.
yeah.
Uh, that's what that question, means to me.
Got it. And I love that because, it also could be when is enough enough, right? It's
And what
absolutely what it means to you, right? Because when I read it, that's what I read. And then we talked for a second, and it's like, yeah, it goes both ways. And absolutely love what you're bringing up. Before we really dive in, Marcus, I just want to remind
Oh, yeah.
everybody on the top right corner, there's a blue QR code takes you to Empower Performance
No.
Strategies. Dude,
Got it.
it's taken me 95 podcasts to get that right finally. So it takes you to empowerperformancestrategies.com for people listening on the podcast forums later on. Again, empowerperformancestrategies.com. All kinds of free ebooks and tools and Facebook groups for both family members and veterans themselves. Hey, check it out. Get involved in the mission. So with that said, shall we dive in deeper?
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about when how do I when you're really trying to recognize, when you've reached that point in their career or relationships or personal growth, good or bad. Let's go to the positive. Um, you know, where is enough? Where for fulfillment and those kinds of things, I guess.
You mean when does one? Well,
I'm
I'm
spinning in a different
pausing,
way,
I'm
Mark.
pausing because I want to choose the right words.
Okay.
Do you mean when is enough for one's self, or objectively speaking? Because
Let's go.
I
Yes.
believe two different yet related things.
Yeah. So let's start with self first,
Self.
and then
Okay.
let's see where we go from there.
Okay. There's a physical thing that I believe we can do to help with answering that question. And that is, I invite everyone to take their finger, if you can, if you're not driving, and then I want you to put it on your sternum, right, sort of between your ribs. And I want you to imagine that you're a little balloon with a tiny hole in it, and I want you to deflate a little bit. Deflate, 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 deflate. And at some point, you feel your chest kind of collapsing, and wherever that is for your own body. And that moment of collapsing or going inward is different than I want you to now plug that hole in the balloon, in the imaginary balloon, and inflate a little bit. Inflate, inflate, inflate the balloon. And somewhere in there, your chest feels like it's inflating, or it feels like it's expanding. It just gives you the tiny little feeling of I like to call yes versus no. And it's somewhere in there is a transition between these feelings of yes, or I could also call them resourcefulness, or embrace of life, or or feeling of confidence, or feeling of flow, a feeling of forward, and a feeling of unresourcefulness, a feeling of no, a feeling of closed off, a feeling of pullback, a feeling of waiting, a feeling of stuckness, a feeling of frustration. If you go really, a feeling of fear. It's all those things on the collapse, on the no spectrum, versus the things that are on the yes spectrum. And I know it could be a little woo-woo, but imagine, if you're in the military and you're standing there at attention, your chest is essentially out. You're standing at attention, you're ready, you're saying yes to life. And versus collapsing, which is fear, which is saying no, which is protecting yourself from the things that are outside. But it's also closing yourself off to possibilities. And so we ask ourselves, the reason I do this is when asking yourself, when is enough, is that when it feels expansive, when the thought of something, and therefore the meaning of something, and the feeling of something that you're encountering or doing or thinking about doing, or a relationship that you're in, if it feels more on the positive side of feelings more often than it does on the negative side of feelings, then that is something to lean into. Then that is something, when it more often feels on the unresourceful, on the negative, on the closed off sides of feelings, when you're doing it or when you're thinking about it, then that's probably enough of that. That's when it's like enough of that and more of the other thing. I have mentors and friends of mine who put it a lot more simply, or summarize it like, if it feels good down here, do more of it. If it doesn't feel good, do less of it. When it feels good from the neck down, when it feels good, again, if you're coming from a positive place, if you're coming from a place of good intentions, then do more of it. Then it's not enough of that for you. You can have more of it. It's healthy for you. Have another helping. So and ultimately that choice is up to you. But I it's so you can phrase it like, trust your gut, that's even lower than your heart, like trust your heart. And it's often easier said than done. It's often easier said than done, because our feelings in there often get clouded by the thoughts that were conditioned, and your thoughts, your reality. That's oftentimes clouded by our thoughts.
So what would you say sometimes when people are trying to, and we're going to go back to enough is enough. There are a lot of times there are people that have dealt with something in their past.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going again a little different here because I think it's an important thing for people to hear or analyze, if you will. They're and it leads to burnout generally. But and again, back to enough is enough. They are really just trying to make up for past things, right? They weren't proud of themselves when they were younger. They struggled with things in their teenage years. They did things they weren't proud of, and self-loathing. I mean, there's all kinds of potential things in there. So what would be some tips or some thoughts that you would say to be careful of, if you will, or when enough is enough on that other side of, hey, I'm just doing all of these things and I'm in this and I'm in that, I'm in this, and I'm going to implode because of so many things. Because fulfillment is one thing, and doing things to be busy and to make up for the past is a whole nother. So give me some thoughts on that, if you will.
Ooh, okay. Nuggets. Thank you so much for that. How the past informs our present and therefore our future. Because everything we do, everything we think, everything we feel, everything we do, and therefore everything we have in our lives affects our future, because it's like little decisions, right? It's like domino effect of our lives. And oftentimes we let the past affect either consciously or unconsciously what happens in the present and therefore the future. And you said, oh my goodness, I don't think I can quote here, but okay. So just to put aside,
Please.
is that make up? Oh, something to the effect of you making up for the past, right?
Yeah.
So unconsciously or consciously, you're like, no, you know what? I was this in the past. Never again. I'm going to do this, right? And even though we think it's a positive intention, right? I'm going to be better than that guy. I'm going to be better than that. It can let us somehow, you were saying, lead to burnout, because ultimately we're running from the past. Ultimately, we're still looking in the rear view mirror. We're still looking in the rear view mirror, making up, and our fuel is still that past. And unless our past can inform our present, sort of to lift us up like a hot air balloon, that we're looking back on that and going like, you know what? That dude survived all that stuff, whatever. And we can do it with the corners of our mouth above the horizontal, even a little bit. In other words, that we can have a meaning attached to our past that produces something on the positive emotion spectrum, not the negative, not every time we think about it. Okay. And the reason for that is that if it's on the negative side of the spectrum, something in us still wants to change it. And that's where regret comes in, and resentment, either in others or ourselves. Those two R's, regret and resentment, have to do with wanting to change what happened 10 years ago, to change what happened 15 years ago, to change what happened 5 minutes ago. And the thing about that is you can't. And this is coming from see what happened there? That silence, that was me going into the past. And I'm an actor, so I can temporarily put meanings on that trigger sadness. But I can snap out of it. Stop. I'm freaking magnificent. Yes. Pat, 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 pat. I'm amazing. That was called the stop technique, by the way. So we're back in the present. So wanting to change the past is what keeps us stuck there. And even though we don't think we're trying to change the past, if we allow ourselves to move forward, to make up for the past, that's still a version of it. That's still a version of it. It's still, like you like to say, I think it's like a backpack full of rocks. I love that analogy. You're still going forward, but you're doing it because you got this sack of stuff. So you asked, how do we move forward from that? How do we change that?
How are we careful of wanting to do so much? And I think you've already hit 3/4 of it just on the analogy of we're trying to make up for the past. We've not forgiven ourselves for who we were, where we were at the time, the person we were, because we didn't know any better at the time for the most part. And I think it's a huge thing for forgiveness. Where you were, who you were at the time. Because most people, I think, are doing the best they can, and they just don't know better, or they don't have the skills, or they don't have any of those kinds of things. So I think it's really one of the most influential ways I've forgiven myself for my past, because I didn't know any better. I
Yeah.
needed to go through those things to learn and grow,
Yeah,
to be the person I am now.
sure. It's like,
So touch base on that, please.
well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I tear up I tear up thinking about it because it's really touching. In this moment, what comes up for me is that you needed to go through the manure. I'm going to use that word, right? I mean, manure makes things, right? Makes things grow. And it's one thing to know that going through all that stuff has allowed you to become this thing, right? It's one thing to sort of know that and go like, yeah, that's great. But how do we allow that to actually go down into our heart and open us up and actually make us sort of feel good about ourselves? And one of the things that comes up for me is I heard this wonderful thing a friend and mentor shared where he was thinking back to the kid before stuff hit the fan. Like think back, and maybe you have a picture or whatever it is. Maybe you have a picture of yourself, that little kid, and you can imagine in your mind who didn't know better, who wasn't looking forward, who didn't know what was coming, and who didn't have these images of him or her or themselves yet. These ingrained thoughts about self-worth and all that. We're all born, pretty confident and pretty comfortable. We cry immediately because this world is harsh. We come out and say, no, but essentially we're pretty, innocent and forward-looking and looking for the good in others, in ourselves, in the world. And I think if we think back to that, think back to that person, we're still that person. If we can love that child, if we can do that, then we can love the self that is us. And it's a crazy kind of thought in a way, but we can be reborn any moment. And I know it sounds kind of a little bit hokey. It sounds a little bit hokey.
It's not. It's awesome.
But ultimately, and it's great. Yeah. Thank you. It's ultimately a split moment, a split second decision, or it's a split second event. And sometimes it's very small and it might last for a second, but we can inch up to that. We can inch up to forgiveness. We can inch up to self-love, and it's scary. It can be scary for a lot of us, especially those of us who have a poopy past. But ultimately, we have to allow us to take that step. We have to allow ourselves to go from that non-resourceful into that resourceful, or to take that leap, or however you want to think of it.
Yeah.
To look in that mirror, even if it's briefly, and this is a physical thing we can do, look into that mirror, and rather than just looking at our hairdo or seeing whether our earring is hanging a certain way or whether our shirt is tied, our tie is straight, look yourself in the eye and see yourself for just a second. And see yourself for a second as you would another person that you might be in love with, or trying to find love. And even if it's just for a split second, and you'll know it when you see yourself.
Yes.
And when you do, I believe that is a moment when you actually are saying you're enough.
Mm.
And when you can say you're enough, you'll start, and you can say that more often and more deeply about yourself with the help of the mirror. Actually see yourself. You're going to embrace yourself. And the more you embrace yourself, the more you will embrace these things that are good for you in your life. And I would, for lack of a better word, perhaps reject the things that aren't. The more you say you're enough, the more you'll be able to say on the outside, that's enough of that. Because if you love your plant, you don't pour junk on it. Yeah. If you love your kid, you don't, you treat it with care, or your dog,
yeah,
or your house.
Absolutely. Would you say, and this is again me, once you've forgiven yourself, and that mirror exercise, first of all, I do it every day. I think it's absolutely phenomenal when you look at yourself in the mirror in your eyes and you feel your soul.
Mhm.
I think there's not a better connection to yourself that I have found, literally, than
Mm.
that. So I
Yes.
think it's fantastic. Yeah.
Yes. And acknowledge what comes up,
Oh yeah.
because it's okay if you see yourself and you see something you don't like. Take that as a little warning light on the car, or a
Mm,
traffic signal that says, you know, something crossing, like beware, because ultimately you're all you got.
yeah.
Ultimately, you're all you got, and because you're all you got, it you're also there for others. So take that as a sign of like, hey man, it's ultimately best if you can look at yourself and find something and see your soul and dig it and like it.
Amen.
And
Amen.
it's hard, or want to embrace it at least.
Yeah.
You know how you can
Absolutely.
love your kids but not like them sometimes? That whole thing. I mean, it's not like,
Yep.
I don't like, sure, there's parts of you I don't like, so you can look at yourself and go like, yes, hey man, we're getting better at this, we're getting better at that. And you love yourself. And that means you want to take care of yourself and set
Yeah.
boundaries for yourself and get back in there and embrace life and enjoy life and all that. It starts with you.
Absolutely. I love that. Hey, Marcus. So we're almost out of time. I can't even believe this already. This went way too quick. Just means we get to do it again. Woo-hoo.
Yes.
So, would you say that really, and this is my take, so I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so understand that first. Um, and we're friends, so we don't do that to each other anyway. We just talk. So,
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So, when you've found fulfillment, you found a purpose. I'm big on fulfillment. Actually, Kane Shy talked to me about this, and I really like fulfillment. Um, when you have found that, that's kind of where the top of the pyramid is. Yes, when you found that purpose, when you found the reason that you get up early and stay up late, because you generally don't burn out when you found happiness in what you're doing. Would you agree? To talk to me about
I
your
would
thoughts on that.
agree. I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
And I know this from experience, because it wasn't too long ago where I had a lot of happy moments. A wonderful wife, a beautiful wife, and wonderful kids, and friends who loved me and who I loved, and jobs that were amazing. But something was gnawing at me. There was something where I couldn't wait to go to sleep,
Mm,
and I didn't want to get up in the morning. And the worst part was I thought that was normal.
mm,
Like I thought, meaning I accepted it. I accepted it until someone else, and it was online, like mentors and people I found like online. They said and asked the question, when is enough enough?
mm.
And with their help, I came to realize something like enough of this, enough of this. And through certain things, and neuroencoding was one of them, perhaps the most impactful thing. I found a feeling, and it started at the top of my head and went all the way to my toes, of integrity, of fullness, of fulfillment, where all of a sudden, and I found myself almost in spite of myself, not wanting to go to sleep anymore, and not wait. I couldn't wait to get back up.
Yeah.
Where it was like a little kid again, like that little kid. And it's crazy town. And it wasn't just for a week. I did lasted for a long time. And it comes back whenever I choose for it to come back. And the great thing is, once you know it, you can't unknow it.
Mm.
And
So,
so,
so go ahead,
yeah,
please.
no.
No,
And
please.
so if you get back, and here's the great thing: do I have moments of this? Do I have moments of down? Yes. And I know I can get back up. Do I have hours sometimes? Sure. And I know that I'm choosing it for some reason. to explore it, or to go like, you know what, but it's not a reward. How is staying frustrated on purpose a reward? How is going like, you know what, I deserve to sulk for an afternoon. It's like, okay. Anyway, but yes, so fulfillment is key, and you'll know it. And
Yeah.
you'll know it because it's your
Absolutely.
mission.
Yeah.
When you know it's your mission, and whether it's a mission of drive, or whether it's I want to exist in love, you'll know it because you'll feel it from the top of your head, energy flow to the bottom of your toes, man. That's it.
So here's the thing, right? When you said mission, because what do I always, I don't call this work ever. This is not work for me. And I call it my mission, join the mission, etc. As soon as you said that, I literally got chills through my whole body.
There you go.
That was amazing, my friend.
That's it. That's when you know it's right.
Yeah. And it's, you feel it like, in your body, you do listen to your body. When you
Yes.
feel like crap, listen to your body. When you feel amazing and energetic and like nothing's going to stop you in the world, listen to your body.
Listen to your body and give that credit.
Amen.
Believe that feeling, and believe that that's as important and as valuable to you and to those around you and to the world as are the when you feel not good. We give way too much credit to the not good and not enough credit to the good.
Yeah. And Marcus,
yes,
how do we give credit to the good? How do we make that stick and anchor that into ourselves?
Well, I would say, I would point to myself and go, I am magnificent. And then I make a fist and I go, yes. And then I pat myself on my own back or on my chest. And then you got to celebrate. You got to put it in yourself. You got to celebrate so that you then go, that was a good thing. I want to do more of it.
Absolutely.
So thank you. And I celebrate you for this amazing episode. Your mission is just the best. I'll always join your mission.
Thank you, man. Thank you, my dear friend. Truly. You being on here is always a light of my day. Absolutely. I know it's going to be fun. I know we're going to talk about some really great stuff. Sometimes hard, sometimes absolutely amazing, but good information to create that tsunami for good. I've moved past the ripple effect. I'm just going tsunami for good now.
Why not? Why not change the language and make it? Yes, absolutely, dude. Tsunami for good. Oh, now that's taken. Okay.
Amen, man. Hey, so we're way past time. All right, brother. How do people reach out to you?
Well, I am Marcus Jacob Weiss on Facebook. I am the Marcus Weiss Experience on Instagram, Marcus Weiss on LinkedIn, and www.themarcusweissexperience.com. And I will send you a link for the Joy Experience, which is a 2-weekend virtual joy empowerment, I would call it journey. Okay, call it a course if you will. And that's on Saturday the 1st and Saturday the 8th of March. That's coming up. So if anybody wants to join my journey or my mission, I'm happy to have them included.
Fantastic. And Marcus, please, when we're done, go into all the social media, post it everywhere, please.
I will do, as always.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much.
So with that said, if you can give us 3 tips to get veterans further faster.
3 tips to get further faster. Okay, great. And I've shared this before and I will share it again. When you wake up in the morning and your eyes open, okay, take your fingers and remember me and do this. Okay, you can either do it like me or a little less silly, but here we go. It's going to be a great day. Just like that. And remember this moment. And remember, it'll make you smile just enough to make you believe it just enough, to feel it just enough, to move and get out of bed. Because that's the first step. If you don't get out of bed, nothing is going to happen. And then second, on the other side of the day, when your head hits the pillow, please, in your brain, review the things that went well that day. It doesn't matter. Just go scan your day from the first, even if the first thought is like, well, I made it. Okay, great. Just give yourself credit for the things that went great. Do not hit your head at the pillow and go like, thank God. No, go to the resourceful feelings, okay? And the other thing is this, take a breath. Whenever it's kind of like, if it feels like cheating, it is cheating. If it feels like you're going to be angry and let something out that's not great, you will get angry and let something out that's not going to be great. Trust Trust that feeling. Trust that gut. So then take 3 seconds and just do this. Breathe in. You know, they say count to 10, count to 5. You know what? When you breathe in, it will be at least 3 seconds. So take a slow, deep breath in. That's all you need to do. Don't worry about counting. Just if you feel that coming, just go. And in that moment, remember this moment. In that moment, remember you're doing that for a reason. You're doing that to stop, to put your foot on the brake. And it'll make you let out something different.
Absolutely love it, my friend.
Okay.
Marcus.
Yes, friend.
Time is the most precious resource we have as human beings.
Sure is.
We do not get it back. Thank you for spending this part of your life, these few minutes of your life with us to create that tsunami for good. So thank you, my friend.
My pleasure. As always, I'll see you soon, I'm sure.
All right, brother. I love you. Have an amazing day. And everybody, we're out of here.
We're out.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful journey of Your Thoughts, Your Reality podcast with your host, Michael Cole. We hope the conversation sparked some thoughts that resonate with you. To dive deeper into empowering your thoughts and enhancing your reality, visit empowerperformancestrategies.com. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality, so make them count. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating the reality you desire. Catch you on the next episode.